Hello everyone, it's the holiday season, so why not tear apart one of my favourite games, Terraforming Mars. It's in my top 10, if you want to know exactly where, well, you go and check out my top 100. But it is a phenomenal game. But there are some things wrong with it, some which may or may not be going to be improved and tweaked upon when Prelude 2 comes out. But let's dive into the list of my top 5 things that are wrong with or bad about Terraforming Mars. At number 5, and this would probably be higher if it wasn't for the stuff that's coming out in the Prelude 2 expansion. And I kind of made this list before I remembered that that expansion had these in it from the Kickstarter campaign. The Milestones and the Awards, they're really just samey. And what I mean by that is, I really expected them much earlier in the expansion side of things to just come out with little boards or tokens that you would put down over the top of them on the standard board to just change it up. Yeah, you can go and play on many different maps, some fan-made, some they've actually made sort of Hellas Elysium, that sort of thing, and they've got different milestones and awards. But I'd love to be able to mix and match, take those milestones that you can do sort of thing and play with them with the normal board and mix and match. And it sounds like that's what we're going to get with Prelude 2. It felt like an obvious thing that they could have changed and tweaked, and apparently they now about to. So that's my number 5, and it's only not higher because I think they're rectifying it soon. My number 4 is that I think a lot of the expansions are actually a bit meh. I like a lot of them at some point, but with the amount of them, it just sort of makes the game not too much, but there's just a bit of bloat almost. You've got the Venus sideboard, you've got like the council thing from Turmoil or whatever it is, you've got the events going off, you've got a kind of just like maybe one of them at a time. And I also find, certainly like with some of the Turmoil stuff, doesn't necessarily feel as good at 2-player, which is what I predominantly play Terraforming Mars at. And, well, I just feel like a lot of the time I'll use a number of the cards from the expansions, but I'll make sure I've removed all the ones that are specifically about, you know, getting a delegate or whatever they're called. In the recent tabletop tea time, I actually said that I don't mind the artwork of Terraforming Mars too much, because during play I'm only looking at like the tags, the effects, the costs, and the artwork just kind of bubbles along, and I don't really look at the card art too much. I look at the lovely board in the middle of the table. My version is a neoprene mat, and it's got 3D tiles going on it, so production wise it kind of looks awesome. But actually take a step back, have, you know, someone's taking a little longer on their turn, you start looking at the artwork. Well, I don't mind it, but it doesn't match. There's different styles going on there, and they could have just done that a little bit better, and I think everyone kind of hits on the production value and the artwork of Terraforming Mars. Well, my copy has been blinged out, so I can't say much about the production anymore, apart from it could have been better as a base game. But the artwork is not something that's changed, and just one style would have worked really nicely. So, the artwork, but during play, I don't look at it that much anyway. Number 2 is another expansion-based one, and it's the only expansion that is a must. It's almost a necessity, and that's why I think that's bad, that it kind of needs Prelude. Not only does it give you choices from the very start of the game, it just kick-starts the game. It means that round 1/round 2 are just that bit bigger, that bit more punchy, and I kind of like that. We normally play with the tweaked rules. It's like you start with one of like generation of everything. Again, that just cuts down like maybe one generation, one round of the game. It just gets things going quicker rather than everything starting at zero. And it's like, right, I have no power, I have no plant production until I've played a card. Well, at least you can get a plant every round and it slowly builds up and stuff. It just means things cost a bit less, you get things down on the table more, and the game, certainly with Prelude, just ends that bit quicker because those first few rounds aren't a slog. Now, I say this because I don't think I'd want to ever play Terraforming Mars without the Prelude. If I was at someone's house and they had just the base game, I'd be like, okay, sure, you want to play it, let's play it. But otherwise, if they were on the fence, I'd be like, wait, come to mine, we'll play my version. It's got the Prelude, it's got the bling. And yeah, I think Prelude, almost more than the bling, would be what would stop me, because those first few rounds otherwise are very slow. So a mandatory expansion, it's cool that, you know, it's an expansion you can easily recommend. It's not great that after a couple of plays of Terraforming Mars you kind of really need it. So that's not great. My last but not least one is the mean cards. I don't mind them too much, but after playing Arc Nova, that's just so much of a better system. In Arc Nova, the cards that are directly attacking opponents, of which there's not many in the deck, and there's not many in Terraforming Mars, but in Arc Nova it goes, this is what's happening to the person you're targeting, but a little thing at the bottom of, but if you're not playing the mean rules, this is what this card gives you. And I just feel like, I don't know, sometimes it feels a bit annoying. It certainly feels very frustrating in this game where you're hardly interacting with other players apart from on that central board and the card drafting, that all of a sudden I'm playing this card, you're losing your your hard-earned greenery or whatever, and I've kind of screwed you over there. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't like it. I'll sometimes use that card, but it's very rarely, you know, those style cards, it's very rarely to screw the opponent. It's more, well, it's an okay card to play for me, and it screws my opponent. I just like the Arc Nova version of it better, where it's like, you don't want to play mean, here's an alternative use for this card. I think I prefer that system, so I just wish that Terraforming Mars had it as well. So there are my 5 things. Yeah, I could have complained about the length of time that it takes, but it feels about right for the game that it is. I could have complained about the huge deck, but I love the fact that you're hoping sometimes for certain cards to come out, certain symbols, and the draft is very satisfying as you're like, oh, these are all good. Which one's the best for me, best for my opponents, and stuff like that. So I think that works super well. It also means that you don't necessarily, you can't guarantee, like, oh, this one card that would be perfect, it might not come out for you. So you've got to work with what you've got and stuff like that. But what is your issue with Terraforming Mars? Let me know in the comment section below. And like I said, it's one of my favourite games. This list was just for some fun, and, well, have an amazing terraforming day.